off that offensive performance and taking a look back at it, what was kind of the main key to why the passing game was so effective against such a good defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously it starts with the protection and the O-line, and they did a really good job. We heard about that defensive line all week, and so for them to step up and come to the challenge was absolutely incredible to watch on tape, So it gave Kirk a lot of time. I was able to knock off some underneath coverages real quick, so the backers were kind of fluffing off a little bit and taking away a little bit of the deep balls, and then to be able to have that third down, that 3rd and 12 or whatever, and convert, and then have a couple choices and some stuff like that, bring those backers back underneath, and then open up the deep balls, I think helped a lot. So, I think it was just all contribution of everybody. Complementary football with, the wideouts, tight ends, running backs, O-line, and Kirk. I think we were all just playing well and on the same page, so it was a lot of fun.
There's a fair bit of attention on the shipping you were doing in pass pro before you go out. Was that a pretty standard amount that you normally do in a game, or more than you normally would be asked to do?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't really know the numbers. I know I do that every at least once or twice a game. There's no secret that they had Nick Bosa over there, and one of the elite edge rushers in this league, and so I think that helps out the guards, that helps out the tackles, that helps out everybody. So I think that was definitely a thing that we kind of focused on this week a little bit. But I don't really necessarily know if I did it more or less than normal. But I think that really helps the O-line, and then it gets me underneath their coverage, because the backers drop off a little bit, and then I get behind the D-line and underneath the backers. So.
This might sound oversimplified, but do you try to go to the side that he's on, or can you see and then decide?
Not necessarily, no. He kind of plays a lot of he was majority, I think it was like 65% on the right side of our side, so his left side, our right, and then the rest was on the left. So I think he played the majority of the first half on the right side, and then if I remember right, I think he was a little bit more on the left side in the second half. So I don't know if they did something or what that was about, but we don't really have the call where it's like if he's on the right side, go to the right side. If he's on the left side, go to the left side. So I can't necessarily answer that, but I think that just helps.
How's the ankle, and is it just the ankle, or did your calf bother you in the game?
Yeah, so my calf was definitely a thing in the game. Garrett landed on it going in the second. In the first half, and then I think that was the second quarter or something. And then that one hurt, and I was able to let the stinger kind of go away. I was limping off, and then I kind of let it go away. I was able to get a couple plays, and then came back and it felt a little better. But just something that you got to work through. And then the second one was my right ankle, and that was kind of the guy just rolled up on me, and the foot being in that situation, and then him landing on my heel, that was another one that I just had to go to the sideline, get taped up so I couldn't move it, and just try to kind of run around like that and keep it loose. So it's all right. It was definitely sore, but it'll be all good.
TJ, can you talk about how the feeling of that game changed from another early turnover and then the McCaffrey takeaway? I think it changed in that moment.
Yeah, we've had to overcome some of that stuff this year, and that's a huge credit to our defense because we put them in a bad situation to start, and so for them to come out and get us one like that was huge, because then it's just 0-0 at that point in turnover ratio, and then in the fourth quarter obviously came back and had a couple big ones. So I think that was huge, and I don't necessarily recall us ever getting down on it after we threw that. We came to the sideline, we were like, we're good, no worries, not a big deal, we'll come back and roll. And then once we got that, it was like huge, so that was just big to have our defense kind of step up and do that for us. Like I said, it's really complimentary football, and for them to play the way that they did, and then us be able to respond in some certain situations was huge.
How's Kirk playing drives this year?
Kirk's been incredible. I have nothing but good things to say about 8. Just one of the not just one of the best quarterbacks I've been around, just awesome dude too. You know, the way he handles himself in the huddle, the way he handles himself on the field, and the way he handles himself in this locker room is just, you know, one of a kind. You know, I mean, just a great guy. You just want to play for that guy, and you just want to do really well for him. So, you know, I've got nothing but great things to say about Eight. You know, I've had a lot of fun playing with him for the last year, and so I know he's going to continue to do what he's doing, and you know, we're going to continue to keep helping him as much as we can.
Having that offensive performance like you did on Monday without Jefferson, are there some extra confidence or sort of carryover you think that can sort of transcend just that one game?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you get a win, you know, you carry that stuff over. I mean, it just gives you a little confidence. But I wouldn't say, you know, I mean, JJ makes us a better team out always, you know. So I think I wouldn't say it like that. I would just say, you know, we were able to come out, we were able to perform and do some things as an offense. But once 18 gets out there, you know, it's a whole different game as always. So. Yeah, I mean, I think we're just going to continue to keep battling and do what we can as an offense and take it one play at a time, because that was the biggest thing that we went into the game this last week was just take it one play at a time. Don't let anybody say anything. If something happens, move on. If something good happens, move on. It's the next play mentality. So I think that was huge for us going into Monday night, and then you know, we're just going to keep continue to carry that with us through week.
There was a couple of successful plays with you and Josh on the same side. Does there have to be chemistry between you guys? Do you have to kind of understand each other between two tight ends, where you are, how you're going to block, things like that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think that's huge. You know, I mean, when you are a Y and an F, there's certain different patterns. There's different run game situations. There's different, you know, combos that you have to do. So I think that's huge to be able to feel how one moves in space and all that. You know, I mean, I had a deep cross over the middle. I think it was the second quarter, maybe the first, I can't remember. But, you know, Josh is chipping on the end, and then he's got to go through to a shallow. So it's one of those things where we weren't expecting a 6 technique. They gave us a 6 technique, so it was hard for me because I have to outside release that, you know, and Josh is on my outside, so he's got to really take a second and realize where I'm at in space and how I move around that guy, rather than just being able to bulldoze, and then it messes with me as I'm releasing outside. And you know, so there's certain patterns. You know, when we're blocking Y and F, it's just, you know, the way he comes off the ball, the way I come off the ball, you know, you really do have to play a couple games in order to feel that. You know, so I think that's huge. And Josh has been nothing but incredible throughout this season, just helping me out, and then in the run game, and then him helping me out in the pass game. So it's just a lot of different things that he's able to bring to the table that's super exciting. So
TJ, you had a couple of plays where you're chipping and then releasing more of a downfield route. I guess, how hard is that to chip and then be able to get downfield from a timing perspective?
yeah, it's tough sometimes. I mean, other times it's not too bad. It just depends, you know. I think it depends on the end and how much he's rushing, and then how much he thinks I'm actually blocking him, you know, because we had to alert the refs a little later, but just they were holding us at the line, you know. So once you engage in them, they just held me, and it's like, all right, I gotta go, you know, like you can't just be holding me there. So that was one of those things. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad usually. You just take an edge and then try to run downfield as fast as you can to do your job, you know. So there's a few of them, but for the most part, you know, it's usually not bad.
One of those was the 3rd and 12 early in the game.
Yeah, the 3rd and 12 early in the game. Yeah, I was able. It was, you know, I just have the option to kind of do whatever I want there. You know, chip, and then I just saw his eyes go deep and outside, and kind of lost leverage with me, and so I was like, listen, I'm going to go here, and Kirk and I were on the same page. So it's, you know, it's nice to be able to be given a lot of leeway and freedom to do some stuff like that with 8, and then KO just having the trust in me to kind of find my way around different situations and different things to, you know, be able to use what I can do and see what the defense has given us. So.
How long does it take to get to the point where you and a quarterback are reading coverage the same way when there's so much of that receiver or tight ends in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a while when I was first in this league, because, they gave me choice routes in Detroit my first year with Stafford, and he kind of, it was one of those things, he sat me down and kind of talked me through all the coverages and what he kind of assumed in different situations, and it also depends on how the coaches see it, I mean, but here it's been super easy just because Eight's really good at anticipation with me, and then KO's kind of giving me the freedom to just see what I see, and so that makes it a lot easier than, hey, you got to break out here, you got to break out here, you got to break out here, and then now you can break in, So instead of just being able to actually read it and understand what the defense is giving you, and then just feel space, I think that's something that I can do well in an offense, is just be able to feel space where the defense is giving you and kind of be able to sit in those zones and stuff. So it's been awesome. It really didn't take me very long here. I mean, we were running choice routes the first week I got here. So it's just to be on the same page with the Eights is incredible.
Have you all seen benefits of being in the same system for a second straight year? And if so, do you have any examples of how that can benefit you?
Yeah, I mean, I think 100%. I was talking to one of our coaches about this the other day. It's one of those things. The more you know, sometimes the more you think. And so that was one of those things when I first got here. It was there's not much thinking. And I know I can't say everything, but I know a lot about this offense and what they're trying to do in different situations and stuff like that. And so it's one of those things where so much, you got to do different things, and you can who's going and where and everything, and sometimes that can slow you down as a player a little bit, but it also speeds you up as what you're doing. So I think there's a little bit of like, hey, I know what's happening here, but you feel it a little too much rather than just going and playing and you know what you do. But I think it's helped us a lot to just be on the same page with the QBs and the OC and KO obviously, and so we just know what we're doing in certain situations. I think is the biggest thing. I mean, we're kind of on the same page with KO a lot of the time. We'll be like, hey, this play's coming up, and then KO calls it, and we're just all kind of on the same page of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to attack. So I think it's been incredible to be here for the second year and just starting to get in a groove of things.
Can you talk about playing at Lambeau, the atmosphere in the crowd, no Rodgers?
Yeah. Obviously, Lambeau is one of those historic places, one of the historic stadiums in this league. It's been around forever. It's got a lot of history to it, and I've been fortunate enough to play here every year of my career. So it's just an incredible atmosphere. There's it's kind of like a college atmosphere in the sense that everyone's on their feet the whole time. Everyone's always yelling, and in Green Bay, it's such a small town that everybody in that town always goes. So it's just a fun atmosphere to be at. And I know we travel well, so there's going to be a lot of purple there too. But I've always loved playing there. The real grass is huge too, so that helps. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun for sure.
Do you have any thoughts at all on the Iowa punt return ballot?
Yeah, I think I said on Monday night, if someone asked me, I was like, I don't know if I can comment on that one, but that's definitely a tough one. I've never seen that one called, but that is what it is. I know it was good for Minnesota to get the pig at least once. So, thanks, guys.
Another test, in this league, it just keep coming. So now we go to Lambeau Field and play, tough place to play against a good defense, and be a big challenge for us, divisional game, all those things. So short week, and we understand the challenge up ahead of us. So take any questions you have.
Your statistics are pretty remarkable this year. I'm wondering, even without Jetson the other night, for almost 400 yards against a very good defense, is this somewhat a product of being same system second year? Is just, or do you have a different explanation?
I would think it's a combination of factors, never any one thing. I do think that the longer I play in a system with the same coaches, the same play caller, I would think it's always going to help be more consistent. I think you have to have good players around you. And I think Kevin gives me a lot of opportunities too. When you have 45 attempts a game, it's different than, in Carolina, I think we had 18 attempts really. So, that's also always going to change your production. But really, whatever it takes to win. And I torment myself because I look at the production and I say it should be so much better. With some of the red zone stuff we've left out there and some of these interceptions that have been unlucky, you're just like, this should be so much better than what it is. So I appreciate you saying it's good because I look at it and I'm like, gosh, it needs to be so much better. So that's kind of the way it'll always be, I guess.
And you do a lot of leg press this week to help with the tush push.
Yeah. Honestly, it's, when you watch it around the league, I do think the Eagles have done it in a way that's at a different level. Certainly, it should be repeatable. You'd like to think that it can be done by any team at any time. But you'll watch around the league, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Outside of the Eagles, and it was. I think Fred Warner timed it up well, jumping over the ball. He kind of guessed that we were on a quick count, and he guessed right, and then we always go back and look at how can we be better at it, and we were doing that after this week. So, it's I don't think it's going away until a rule changes of some kind. I don't know what would change, but it's not going away around the league. I think it's going to be there.
It seemed like you and TJ were really on the same page the other night. It's kind of been that way since he's gotten here, but has there been something that has kind of developed between you and him for understanding when he's doing certain things on choice routes and things like that?
Well, I think that there's a trust level with him. He showed right away that he has a good feel for some of those routes where he has to make a decision on the fly, that he'll make the right decision, that with his athleticism he'll create separation. And a lot of it is also Kevin, designing the plays and putting him in a position where the ball is likely going to go to him as long as, I throw with accuracy and he does his job, the ball goes to him. So he's proved to be a reliable player for us over the last year and a half, and I don't really see that changing much moving forward.
It seemed like you had a number of throws on Monday night. You were able to throw guys open and show good anticipation in a lot of those spots. What is the key, I guess, to getting to the point where you can throw guys open and be great that you have in some of those spots?
I do think when you do that, it's because you know where they're going. You've seen it before. The play at the end of the half that arguably won the game was the opposite of that. That wasn't a play we've repped a ton in that specific look and that specific route, and so I threw it with anticipation but didn't quite know how to lead him out of the break, which is why the ball was behind him and why it was potentially intercepted. So I find in my notes saying, man, I got to take him all the way to the hash mark, and when I went to throw that football, I had no feel for doing that. But there's so many other plays, going back to playing with a coach for multiple years, where you say, I know to take him to the hash mark. I know to take him to the numbers or to bring him flatter than more vertical. So the more you can play with anticipation, it helps with the pass rush, not getting home, your accuracy, all those things. But certainly it goes both ways. The receivers have to also be anticipating things too and separating, and it all plays a part.
Kirk, on the Manning cast, Peyton Manning said that he talked to you before the game.
Yeah.
So that you turned around and wanted to quiz him.
I did, yeah. Yeah.
What do you glean from something like that, and do you just take any opportunity you can to talk to someone like Peyton Manning about football?
Yeah, he reached out last week and said, hey, I'm going to be the shortest production call of your life, but can we talk? And I said, well, if you're calling me to take my time, it's not going to be the shortest production call of my life, because I'm going to then talk to you and ask questions. So he was kind enough to sit on the phone with me for a little while and answer some of my questions. We went and saw a few guys this past off season that are now retired that I used to play against or were in the league when I was younger, and he's another guy I'd like to go sit with and learn from up ahead. So it was a good conversation.
What do you learn specifically from him?
No specific thing. I just think you talk about preparation, you talk about game planning, you talk about what made you successful in certain areas of quarterbacking, why one year might have been more productive than another, body work. There's really no end to the topics you could cover, which is why I think on a phone call preparing for a game it's harder to cover it, but in the off season you can cover a lot of topics.
Are you offended Eli didn't reach out to you?
Not offended. He was my Pro Bowl coach last year and we won, so I was actually surprised Peyton reached out, being that they lost the game. I think he was pretty upset they lost. So and apparently they're coaching it again. It was a lot of work for them as coaches to put the game plan together and things. So would love to get there again and try to go 2-0 with Eli.
You mentioned the play at the end.
Yeah.
On Monday, it's obviously a combination of factors go into that. Against a front like that, did you sense maybe the offensive line sort of maybe brought out the best? And then
Sure.
Essentially, a little extra.
Yeah. I think they knew the challenge that was in front of them, and they rose to the challenge. And it wasn't any one guy. I think it was all 5 guys doing their part, playing together. It's never going to be perfect, but they sure played well and answered the challenge.
Kirk, you mentioned the play at the end of the half with Jordan. I think after the game you said kind of how he got it.
Yeah.
When you watched that,
Yeah.
just kind of how do you digest that play?
You know, I hate watching plays that go our way, but I felt like we were fortunate because I don't feel like we were good enough, if you will. And so I watch it and say, we got away with one. I don't even like celebrating. It's a weird dynamic where I'm like, we need to feel like we executed the play and earned it. And certainly Jordan did in the sense that he made a play. But from my standpoint and what I can control, I'm saying I got to be better. I got to have a better feel for where to lead him, and got away with one. You obviously have had a few that you haven't gotten away with where you kind of paid the price the other way, where the ball bounced the other way. So it always balances out. But there is some level of, you know, we got to be better, and we got away with one. And I don't love living like that for too long because I don't feel like it's sustainable. I feel like you have to ultimately, you know, earn it.
So how do you feel when a play that should have gone well, but something out of your control happens?
Yeah.
Do you take any solace from that?
Yeah, I don't sleep too well. You know, I kind of get tormented either way, I guess, which is why it's tough. But no, certainly there's a lot of plays where you say you got to sometimes shrug your shoulders and say, hey, my process was good. I know what I'm doing. I have a plan. It didn't go our way, but I feel like, you know, my plan, my process was where it needs to be. And you probably do, you know, have a different perspective than maybe someone who doesn't realize all that you're processing.
Probably somewhere you say I'll do the exact same thing next time.
Yeah, there's a lot of those plays. You know, I think like the last play of the Chargers game where you're like, man, everything I'm doing there, my process, my thought process, my strategy, where I'm putting the ball, it's like I'm doing what I want to be doing there. Just didn't get the result we wanted. And you still go back and say, maybe how can I make it easier and da-da-da. But you're certainly aware of the ball's not always going to bounce your way, and it doesn't change the fact if your process was good, you know, you should stick with it.
So you hate watching those good plays? Like,
Yeah.
the more you watch them, can that help with the torment? Seeing
I think you go over and you send a thank you note to Jordan Addison and you say, hey, man, thanks for bailing me out. Thanks for helping our team there. But, you know, every time we complete a pass, but the ball's high to TJ and it's getting hit in the ribs, or, you know, Justin's having to slow down for a ball that he could have run through and pulled away, I'm always going over to him and saying, hey, that ball's got to be more on the money. That ball got to be down. I got to protect you. And I think that self-critique is why I'm still standing here talking to you guys in year 12 at 35 years old. I also think it's why sometimes you feel like this game's a grind, because you're never really just going out there and shrugging your shoulders and just, you know, playing careless. You're playing with so much care that you're always evaluating and critiquing, and so that's kind of the balance I'm trying to find is I'll always be trying to find is how do you push yourself to be a better quarterback, which keeps you in this league and playing well, and then how do you still enjoy it and just kind of go have fun and go play. And, you know, Justin helps with that because he's always telling, you know, because he's more on the other side of the spectrum than me. You know, we're kind of on different sides there. So sometimes opposites attract in this sense. And he you know, locker mate, he kind of helps me see that there's another approach to it too, where you can just kind of go out there and have fun.
Did you know that was him in the post-game interview?
Yeah, he was basically in a Halloween costume with the hood and the sunglasses. But yeah, and if I didn't know, the grills kind of gave it away right away. So, yeah, no, but that's him. I mean, who he was there in that moment is kind of who he is all the time. And so, you know, they talk about when you watch The Last Dance that Michael Jordan was so good at being present. And that's Justin. You know, wherever he is in that moment is where he is. He's not thinking about anything else, you know, and I think it helps him be a really good football player to just be right there in the moment and go play and block everything else out. And so, you know, I think that's important. Yeah. No, I think for me, you know, when we win, there's honestly more like relief, and then when you lose, it's obviously, you know, the worst. And so you want to get to a place where it's not just relief, but it's like you're saying, genuinely happy. Yeah.
Kirk, to that point, I guess you play as well as you did on Monday night. You know what all the narratives have been about Monday night. Is there any enjoyment in that moment of, hey, everybody's watching, I played, the numbers were good, we win, all those things, or is all these things you're talking about make it hard to enjoy it in that level?
I got a couple answers to that question. So going back to like process, like we played the Chiefs on Monday night in 2017 and we lost on the last second field goal, and I walked off the field saying, that's as good as I've ever played. So, like, I'm just not going to buy into the narratives because they're just not – that's not true. That's not how I evaluate myself. Yes, we lost on the last-second field goal, but, like, I've never played better. So narratives can be what they are, but I know better. And then there's also a little bit of when I got 100 text messages after the game from people I hadn't heard from in potentially years, I'm like, oh, there is a little bit more of a microscope on Monday night maybe than there is on Sunday at noon. That you sort of see the overreaction the other way too, where I'm saying just the same way that in 2017 that wasn't true. This isn't true either. It's somewhere in the middle. And so let's kind of walk it back from that response, all the texts I got. So I think it goes both ways.
Is it strange to go to Lambeau and not have them have a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Yeah, it's been like, 30 years, 35 years. And who knows what Jordan will become. You just don't know. He's certainly got talent. There's a first-round pick for a reason. So you still are playing a potentially very good quarterback. But it is something you're used to, number 4, number 12, and now it's number 10. And, being an offensive guy, you're not really thinking too much about it. But at the same time, you understand the level of ball that they've had at the quarterback position. And that to beat them, more often than not, you're going to have to match it, if you will. You're always paying attention. I think the key is just, hey, are we getting outside and practicing it? Are we wearing our longer cleats? Those kinds of things that you can prepare for. I think you're always aware of what you're walking into.
Kirk, with a guy like Brandon Powell and being a smaller statured receiver, is it impressive to you, kind of just the fearlessness he plays with?
Oh yeah, no, and he was a college running back and as a punt returner, and he was a college running back who really is a receiver, and so. It's been amazing his football journey and how he's carved out a career for himself. And watching him in training camp, the way he played, you could just see, like, this guy separates versus man coverage, and those guys are hard to find. And he's a playmaker, and he's pretty natural. And having been a college running back, he's going to be physical in the run game. He's going to understand what he has to do to help in other ways. So, I texted him after the game and just said, like, the player you were on Monday night is kind of the player I see you being game in and game out. It's kind of what I expect from you because – I think you do separate versus man, and I think you do make plays after the catch. So we're fortunate to have him.
Kirk, you mentioned Justin being present. Is that impressive that he's able to stay so present when he's not playing? Like that he's able to kind of be who he is?
Yeah, I think he's just being who he is. I think injury, no injury, Pro Bowl, no Pro Bowl. I think he's going to be that way and loves competing and is always very much in the moment. All right, thanks, guys.